Welcome to Trion's Realm. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Switch release of Dead Cells Return to Castlevania Edition. Now, Dead Cells is from developer Motion Twin, and for this particular release, it was published by Merge Games. Now, there have been a couple different releases of Dead Cells over the years. You had their original base version. They also did I believe it was a Game of the Year edition, and now we have the Dead Cells Return to Castlevania edition. One of my big problems with, you had the original version, and when they did the Game of the Year edition, a lot of people thought that that was adding in a bunch of DLC. When in reality, what it was a re-release of the first one, and it claimed that it had DLC, but that DLC was Rise of the Giant, and that DLC was free to anyone who owned the game. And it was kind of weird because they didn't even put that on the cartridge. So it was essentially double dipping. I think the only major thing they released with that one was that it had an art book included with it. A little tiny one, kind of like an instruction book. So understandably, when it was announced that they would be doing a Return to Castlevania edition around the middle of 2023, a lot of people immediately asked questions. There are 5 total DLCs for the game at this point. You have the free Return of the Giant. There was also the Bad Seed, Fatal Falls, The Queen and the Sea, and then lastly you have the Return to Castlevania DLC. So understandably, fans wanted to know, was this release going to have everything on cart, or everything up to cart within reason? Because obviously if they do any more DLCs after the fact, you can't expect for that to be on there. Now, interestingly, both Motion Twin and Merge Games stated on a couple different occasions that the game would have everything on the cartridge. There were a bunch of people that had questions, and Motion Twin immediately went to Twitter and answered those questions and said yes, the game would be fully on the cartridge. And Merge Games, in a tweet that was put out on launch day, which would be August 11th of 2023, they also state, with the release of the game, that all the DLC was on the disc or cart, depending on which version you got, because this was also released for the PS4 and I believe PS5. Now, a lot of people, myself included, immediately went and pre-ordered the game because we were expecting the game to be fully on cart. Sadly, I have to say, as it stands right now, this is not the case. When I popped the game in, it immediately went and prompted to do a download for the game. Now what I did was I immediately put the system into airplane mode to lock it off from the internet, and I went into the cartridge just to see what was there. Now when I loaded it up and I went down to the section that talked about the DLCs, it shows all 5 of the DLCs and it claims that they're all installed. But when I backed out of the game and I turned airplane mode off, the game proceeded to do the download, and this download was 1.9 gigabytes. I tried this on 2 separate systems, and both times it does this automatically. Now this is really odd considering that on the eShop there is the Dead Cells Medley of Pain bundle, which is essentially the eShop version of the Return to Castlevania edition, where it includes all the DLC, and that file size states that it's 2.4 gigabytes. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but by those numbers, if the game is downloading 1.9 gigabytes, then the cartridge only has 500 megabytes on it, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, before the download, when I put the cartridge in the first time, it said that it was version 1.23.1. After the 1.9 gigabyte download, it was updated to version 1.24.1. Now the icon on the Switch itself is exactly the same as previous physical editions, so there's nothing there that states that this is different from the previous releases. And my previous save file also was accessible right away, which is good, but it's also requiring me to download the same patch that I had with the previous version of the game. Again, this doesn't make any sense. Now on the back of the cartridge, it states that it is revision 001. And there is nothing on the retail case that states that it needs any type of download. But again, every single time I put this in, I delete everything, I delete all the installation and everything, and every time I put it in, it forces me to go through the download again. Now, I don't know if this is a situation like what happened with Hollow Knight, where an incorrect build got sent out to the manufacturer and that is the version that ended up on the cartridge. Under those circumstances, there is a slight possibility that Merge Games may fix this. Now, so far, they have not responded when I tried reaching out to them on Twitter. Now, to be clear, Dead Cells itself, it's a good game. Now, once the download is complete, you have access to all the DLC. I'm not currently at a point in the game where I could see whether or not I have access to the DLC in reality or not. I'm hoping that Merge Games attempts to clear this up and actually fix the situation, but as it stands right now, a lot of fans, myself included, feel a little bit gypped in this situation. We were repeatedly told online that from both the developer and the publisher that the game would be complete on cart, that all the DLC would be there, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But as it stands right now, the retail version that came out on August 11th on the launch date, those versions are not complete on cart as best as I can tell. I wanted to get this out there as a little bit of a warning, because if you're like myself, if you're buying this game, you're expecting everything to be on there at this point. And honestly, it's kind of ridiculous that it's not. And considering the fact that the download file is almost the size of the entire game, it kind of questions why you're buying the cartridge to begin with. By all means, I would recommend that you reach out to both Merge Games and Motion Twin to see what happened with this. Be nice, we don't know what the situation is, so I don't want anybody attacking them. And if they're going to make good the way that Fangamer did with Hollow Knight, I don't have a problem with that. But I do find it disturbing that this happened and they repeatedly said that everything was there. If this video helped you and you'd like to see more, please subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.